Welcome to the Rip Track. I'm your host, Dan Kanan, and today we're going to be converting this inexpensive holiday tree from this to this. It's easy, quick, and inexpensive. Right after Christmas is a fantastic time to pick up these decorations at a bargain price. Check out your local store. I picked up these 6-inch trees for only 25 cents each. Well, they don't exactly look too realistic like this. Let's get rid of all that glitter. Glitter gets everywhere, so we really want to make sure we clean off all that old glitter as much as possible. Knock as much as you can loose. I use rubber gloves here to keep my hands clean, but do this over a trash can or even better outside. Your goal here is just to knock off all the loose stuff, and it's going to get everywhere. So spend the time and do it over a trash can. Run it back and forth through your hands here. You want to take that. Also clip off the old base, that little plastic base on there. Whack it up a few times there. You're going to make it a mess, but at least it's in the trash can. And that's what you get when you're done. But it doesn't really look very good. It kind of looks like, well, still looks like a Christmas tree. Let's do some modifications. Right here, it's actually not hard. All you just need is some heavy-duty scissors and just start chopping into the tree. You're actually trying to rough up the shape and change the overall profile. So we just kind of cut it into an angle. Come at from different angles, keep rotating the tree as you go through. And you're going to make a mess, but again, over the trash can makes it easy. And these things are so inexpensive, so it doesn't really matter. If you make it kind of a messy situation where it's got irregular shapes, that's all the better. You want organic. You don't want perfection. Make it look nasty, make it worse. It's actually going to make it look even better. I will try to cut it from one direction here, and then sometimes I'll reverse it and come back from like the top, chopping down. Real tree branches will generally spread upwards, so we can kind of simulate that by cutting into it at different angles. All you're really trying to do is break up the original classic Christmas tree shape, and it's pretty easy to do here. It's quick and simple. The irony here is that actually the worse you make the tree, the better it turns out. So don't be afraid to chop it up. Even a tree that you completely mess up, you can always paint it brown, throw some brown needles on it, and make it into a dead tree. But realistically, this looks pretty good. And in fact, let's compare it to one that hasn't been chopped up yet, like the original. See, a lot narrower, a lot taller, and actually this looks very acceptable. But let's get to the next step. And that's to add some color. You want to do this step outside where you got plenty of ventilation. Some cheap, inexpensive paint is your friend here. I use a couple different colors. I use a dark brown, this camouflage paint from Rust-Oleum. It works really well. It dries flat and adds a lot of body to it. Here I'm just spraying it onto the existing tree structure we just did earlier. You want to spray it from the top and the bottom. You're trying to cover over all that old remaining glitter. If it's still shiny, you still have glitter. But it covers over really well, and it seals in all the existing glitter, and you just don't have any problems with it at that point. Spraying it from below is a good idea when you're using browns and grays. It represents some of the inner structure that's dead. It really helps build up the overall volume of the tree. Take a look. It actually looks pretty decent just like this. Nothing like it did original. But let's add a little bit more color to it. We've got some good brown tones, but we need a little bit of green here just to help it out. Next thing we're going to do, let's get some green. Some dark green, pine greens, anything like that is useful. Again, more of the Rust-Oleum works well. It's just this dark hunter green satin. It doesn't really matter if it's gloss or not, but I try to use satin or matte colors if possible. And this is where I'm just going to spray it from above and from the side a bit. The original brown we sprayed in there stays in there as a core. And this works out pretty decently here. A good liberal coat of green will work wonders here. Generally you want to spray just from the top or from the sides, not from the bottom up. This gives you a nice thorough coating, and it'll do the job for giving us a base to apply ground foam to it next. Even as it sits right here, it's a far cry from the original Christmas tree we had. So let's take a look at those trees. And just in brown paint alone, it looks like a pretty good dead tree if you wanted to, or a burned tree. But if we add some color, just a little bit of green, you got a good base coat here to apply some ground foam to. I like having the original Christmas tree there just to have for comparison. To give the trees some more texture and foliage, we're going to use some inexpensive hairspray as an adhesive. And then a couple of different types of ground foam you can pick up from hobby shops, Amazon online. Any choice there will work. I like to use two different tones. I like using this Splendid Turf as a highlight, as if the sun was striking it. But the main body we're going to use here is this darker green here. This is some from Bachmann, but you can get from Woodland Scenics, any number of suppliers of ground foam. First what we need to do is actually spray the tree armature itself with several liberal coats of hairspray. I like to spray things over a bucket here because I like to reuse the ground foam as well. So let's give it a few shots here. Lots of multiple quick shots. Just shoot, shoot, shoot. Different angles. Top, bottom, below. Don't be chintzy here. Just keep use as much as you need to. And we quickly dust over it with the darker green. And you can see, even though it's a wet adhesive, it's coating it quite nicely. You can go very light or heavy, depending on what you want. Larger scales, you may want to go for lighter. Small stuff like this, we were going for pretty dense coverage for trees of the Pacific Northwest. And once we get there, it looks good. I'll shake it a couple times or something just to kind of get up an excess. Let's shoot some more hairspray on it. That looks good there. Rotate it, looks pretty good. But it still doesn't look quite right. We need some highlights. This is just kind of a generic dark green now. So, on another tray, using different trays or boxes, I use it to collect any excess ground foam that falls off the tree. And I'll just quickly, lightly dust it. And of course my hand's in front of the camera here, but you get the idea. Let's just hit it from a couple different angles. That looks pretty good. Now it's a lot lighter than it was. Hit it with some more hairspray. Good thing it's cheap, because you go through a lot of it. That looks pretty good the way it is there. I'll rotate it, shake a little bit of excess, and that tree is ready. It really is just that easy. You can keep adding more ground foam as much as you want to get the effect you want. Feel free to experiment. It's inexpensive and easy to do, so try out different ideas. You never know until you find out. You can tell here by the original tree on the right versus the one we have on the left. Now, you can still trim it more if you wanted to this point, but I'm pretty pleased with this. This has got the right dense feel to it, and in a forest of trees, it's going to look pretty good. In fact, let's see about planting that forest. It's a simple job. Just drill a hole in your scenery. I just use a small pick or an awl. Put a little bit of white glue in there and drop your tree in place. And of course, they kind of lean and kind of bend over weird. Once they are dry, you can actually reposition them. But if need be, like the tree on the left side, just push it over there. Come on, bend. Push over there. Stay! You will stay there! Okay, I'll fix that later. But it looks pretty good now. And remember, these were only 25 cents. With all the other materials in there, we're probably into it maybe 30 cents each for each tree. And compare the difference between the glitter bomb tree here with the final results. A little better, wouldn't you say? So why not try it yourself? It's cheap, easy and quick, and a whole lot of fun. And isn't that the entire point? So, until next time, keep it on the rails.